all the muted mics are it worries me, because I know you're recording. I'm more used to conversation than oratory. All right, so during the Mithralis section of the LARP that Andrew ran, one of the characters that I played was a companion character. A friend of mine was playing a noble from Tyrrhenia, who was a member of, I don't want to call it a crime syndicate, but it was an underground movement to start up a shadow government to take over Tyrrhenia, because they don't like the way it's being run. And crime pays the bill. So he was playing this character, and he wanted to be able to manipulate people and have the influence necessary to accomplish things like large scope projects within the world, more than what could be done by simply like, we're going to go over here and stab these people, or we're going to go over here and talk to these people. So he really wanted to play the influence game and economic game with this character. However, to be both rich, land-owning, and influential, it's a massive XP sink for the LARP. So he wasn't going to be able to take any abilities to fight or defend himself with, or anything like that, or even invest in research to know things. So we came up with this idea of doing a Jeeves and Wooster spoof characters, where he would play a rich but idiot nobleman, and I would play a butler that would keep him alive and keep him from making too many mistakes. So he put all of his points in money making, in influence generation, and in land ownership. And I put all of my points in what at the time was known as Xian sorcery, which is basically fantasy martial arts, and into what is now known as the spirit arts. Specifically, a retired one that no one is allowed to have anymore because it was too broken, called the Way of the Shroud. And it was broken because the Way of the Shroud enabled a stealth ability that was equivalent to invisibility, but also rendered you invisible to all methods of tracking. So I could go invisible and no one would know where I am, and no one could divine where I am, and reveal invisibility wouldn't see me because it's not invisibility, it's just me being stealthy. So in combat, I would enter my shroud stance and basically backpack my friend's noble, as he would duel people flashily and with zero skill, but he would never go down because I was using my Xian sorcery to just continually pump him with healing. Because I had manipulated the Xian sorcery healing ability to be free, I was able to spend that. Spend that particular power into accessing regeneration, which you have to have a reason why you were able to get regeneration, either being super tough or having some sort of skill. I could heal for free, so I just have passive regeneration now. And so I bought regeneration. When you buy regeneration in the LARP system, you also had to pick what the regeneration's weakness is. And there's not too many people took regeneration because it's kind of expensive, but the people that did always pick, like fire damage stops my regeneration, or acid damage stops my regeneration, death magic stops my regeneration. I chose normal physical damage stops my regeneration, which meant that no one ever got through my regeneration because people were terrified of the fact that I would vanish and reappear at will. I could do with the Xian sorcery thing. I could do like the like 5-finger exploding heart technique. I could tap somebody and just be like, "You're gonna die in 1 minute now," and then poof, I'm gone. So people were terrified to fight me. So they would always bring the biggest guns they could. They would like whatever massive spells or enchantments on weapons that they could think of. That's what they would bring against my character, which wouldn't kill him. It would at best knock me out, and then 30 seconds later I would wake back up. Regeneration would kick back in. I'd restore all of my abilities, then I would vanish and run away again. Well, me and the noble that I serve got into some trouble with some powerful beings, and they gave the noble I was working for an ultimatum, saying, "We want the leader of the Artinians on Mithralis dead. You have 24 hours to accomplish this, or we kill you." So we spent all of our subterfuge influence to leverage everything that we could. We leveraged to get me into the Artinian encampment near the general, the who was a crown prince, the leader, and I tried to take him out. Unfortunately, much like I was a butler and therefore had the ability to murder people, he had a maid, and that maid had the opposite power, the opposite spirit art to my way of the shroud, which is the only thing that can pierce the shroud's invisibility. So I tried to murder him, but he had his maid with him, and then it became this 3-hour-long, in the middle of the night, hide and seek game, as no one knew where I was, except for this maid who was running from me and trying to keep the prince hidden. Eventually, they sent a messenger to the rest of the player characters. And the rest of the player characters were told, they didn't get all the information. They were just told, this guy just tried to murder the prince. We have an army here. You're gonna bring him to us to face punishment, or our armies will attack in the morning. Yes, it was physical. We were literally chasing each other through a forest, trying to locate each other, and then. But it was also a LARP, so like people were around and could see me, but I had to keep clarifying, like, nope, you can't see me. So they would have to go, ah, oh, crap, and then they would pretend to look around like they don't notice anything as I walk past them. The only person that was able to react to seeing me was the prince's maid. So they told the PCs that they have until morning me to them to face justice, or they're going to turn their armies on the PC camp, which would be that's too much for them to handle. And also, they were just told that we just tried to assassinate this guy for no reason. So the PCs decided, hey, you know what? It sounds like these guys made a mistake. They easily captured the noble, and then until dawn, we played another game of Keep Away, where the PC leadership, the player character leadership, kept trying to capture me. They kept trying to capture me and bring me down. However, they weren't using physical damage. They were using the most powerful effects that they could think of to try to stop me, which I was just evading or blowing through. I was moving so fast with my abilities that the only people that were able to keep up with me was a group of 5 people with a teleportation sorcerer with them. And they would keep teleporting like 20 feet in front of me and then try to stop me as I blow through their barricade. And then they would teleport 20 feet in front of me again. And I would either evade them or they would take me down, and then I would wake up 30 seconds later, use my abilities to get free and run away again. This kept happening. This went on for hours until dawn. At which point, they were out of essence and exhausted, and the player who also was he's also the player that plays Dyson Hastings. The character he was playing at this time was tired, exhausted, and he had enough. So he just pulled a knife out of his boot and stabbed me out of frustration. And I questioned him and I asked him, like, what kind of damage? He was just like, it's nothing. It's just a regular knife. It's not enchanted. It's just normal physical damage. I'm just frustrated and I'm taking it out on your body. And I was like, oh, then I'm dead. So they patch me up before I bleed out, confused at how that took me down. And they bring me to the Artinians. The Artinians go through this whole trial where we explain why we were doing what we were doing, and there was no way out of it. Everyone knew that I just tried to assassinate this prince. So what they did is, due to extraneous circumstances, the noble that I worked for was exiled. However, because I was the one trying to, well, it wasn't, just to clarify, it wasn't Dyson who did this. It was the player who plays Dyson. This was a previous character of his. It was, however, the character that made ridiculous Cascade of Blades spell. Anyway, so they decided, because I was the one who actually attempted the Dyson one half. No, it was a completely different character, more of a straight classic paladin type character than Dyson is. So anyway, they pronounced me guilty and wanted to execute me because I was the one who actually attempted the assassination, and I did murder lots of people as I cut my way through their army to try to get this guy. But when it came time for my execution, they said, well, we're just going to execute him. We're going to have to behead them. And then one of the PCs, one of the player characters who was there for the trial, sort of leaned in and said, I'm sorry, but that won't work. And he looked at him and went, what do you mean that won't work? It's like, cutting his head off won't kill him. It's not going to work. Okay, we will burn him. And another PC went, that's not going to work either. He'll just come back from that as well. And another, he was like, okay, then we will use death magic on him. We'll kill him with a death spell. And another one of the PCs was like, yeah, that's not going to do anything to him either. And this went on for like 20 minutes of the prince offering a suggestion for a way to brutally murder someone, and it being, and then a PC saying, no, that won't work. That won't work. Yeah, that won't work on him. Even if it would work on me, the other PCs thought it wouldn't, just because of the reputation that this butler had built up throughout playing him. And eventually, it was settled that the execution would be, I would be rendered unconscious, beheaded, drawn and quartered, and then my head and the 4 quarters of my body would be burnt in 5 separate braziers until they were ash. And then the ash from the individual braziers would be packed up and given to swift riders who would ride to the edges of the continent and then spread those ashes into the ocean as far away from each other as possible. At which point the PCs agreed, yeah, that might work. That might do it. So, butlers have a reputation. And because of that, Andrew wrote up a skill tree. It's a hidden skill tree that any character I play has access to, and I can teach it to anyone in game. But the only way that people can learn it is to be taught it by me in the game. And it's the art of buttling. So we took basically all of the stories of the things that people had seen my butler do and broke it down into a 5-tier skill tree where you get like a little bit of an ability that sort of emulates the things that my butler was able to do in the game. For example, I defeated a Chaos Isharan in combat with hors d'oeuvres. Most of my game time playing the butler, when not in actual combat, was spent in a kitchen area or in a camp area, preparing hors d'oeuvres, which I would then put on a silver platter, and I would wander around the camp serving hors d'oeuvres to my master and anyone near him. At one point, combat broke out just as I was finishing the hors d'oeuvres. So I had a tray full of cookies and tea sandwiches and things, and I started wandering through combat. Mid-combat, just sort of dancing around people, calling my defensive abilities for evasion and stuff, and just wandering through all of these Isharan, this group of Isharan that was attacking the PC base, while serving the PCs hors d'oeuvres and snacks and tea cakes and things. And at one point, I was serving someone, they were taking a cookie, and their eyes got wide, and they pointed behind me, because an Isharan was running up behind me to take me out, and I just spun in place with the tray out to point it at the person playing the Isharan, and just went, hors d'oeuvre. And the person playing the Isharan could not hold it together. She fell on the ground and just convulsing with laughter, and I was able to just walk over to her and just kill the Isharan, and then I moved on. The same thing happened like later on. We made bacon wrapped dates, a whole bunch of them, and I was serving bacon wrapped dates to people mid combat again. It was amazing. People really liked that character, and was sad to see him go, but he had a good run. But I'm looking forward to the Rin Jaden books, because Andrew did say that he is likely to put in a combat butler in one of those books.